When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. Septum Sin versus the Wild. Septum Sin versus the Wild. Septum Sin versus the Wild. Septum Sin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Welcome, 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 and greetings. We come here from the slightly darker basement of the studio that we reside, as we bring you another lovely podcast, or vlogcast, or any type of thing that you want to call us, but just don't call us late for dinner, because we already are. Any case, we've had quite a bit of viewing this week. Well, maybe not.
Not as much as usual. But.
So we're going to start with the usual, with the what we have been starting and maybe continuing, but not what we've actually completed. We'll get back to that together.
Okay.
So I'll start first by I did start my watch of Cardcaptor Sakura.
Very good.
Which is cool. We're working towards that NIS video that we're going to do.
Slowly but surely.
But we want to watch all of the titles, and that is difficult. But it will be done. You're going to have to actually borrow some for that, aren't you?
Couple of them.
Well, you'll be looking forward to Wagneria, though, finally getting through that second season, I'm sure.
No, actually, I've seen... Well...
Have you seen the second
I
season?
saw Season 2. I did not see all of Season 3.
Okay, well...
Yeah.
I know you want to borrow that eventually.
Yes, I will. And www.wagneria.
My Hero Academia, I have been reading the manga, which is good because I need to make that Shonen Jump subscription pay off a little bit.
Right.
It is not that much. It's like $1.99 a month. But I haven't been doing much with that.
Right.
So I've been trying to read that manga. I've seen the first 3 seasons of the anime, with the new season coming out in the fall. But I can get ahead of it by going to the manga. I think you're actually ahead of me in story on that one.
With My Hero Academia?
Yeah.
I think so.
And finally, the Rebel Gaming Club is watching a series called The Tribe. And we're going to be doing a discussion on Yesei Asha's channel this Thursday about some of the episodes, and that's why I haven't gotten much viewing done. It's a 200-episode series. Now, don't worry, we're only discussing the first 12 in this particular, thing, but still. It's an interesting show. It's a post-apocalyptic show. All the adults have died of this virus that ages you up until you, die. And then all that's left are the kids. And they form this weird Mad Maxian type post-apocalyptic future where they all wear the weird clothes and odd makeup, and they divide into these tribes. And this particular tribe gets together around this empty mall, and they make the mall their home. And they call themselves the Mall Rats. And then it's mostly drama. As the series has gone on, it's gotten to be a little bit more action-y. You can feel the threat a little bit more. Like the evil gang, all they did for the first few episodes was you get to watch them run around on their police car and shout power and chaos. They didn't really hurt anybody. They were just shouting power and chaos as they drove around the streets in a police car. And you got the feeling that they were bad people, but you never really saw them do anything. So it'll be interesting, the discussion. And I urge all of you who did not catch it, check out Yesei's channel. And you should be able to catch the discussion because it should be done by this point. And it'll be fun.
Cool.
That is everything I have been up to this week when it comes to that. Not the completed, but uncompleted.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and then I'll start off with my my unwatched. Yeah, we'll be here all night. No.
Unwashed.
Yes, the great unwashed, that as well. No, as far as the watching, it's the ongoing stuff. I'm still working toward the end of CSI, and I'm making good time on Arrow Season 1. We've gotten through the introduction of Huntress, which is kind of cool. Of course, hooking Ollie up with her, I was saying, like, wow, they really are trying to turn him into Green Batman. Because we all know Batman loves the criminals. But, and then I started in next week we're doing the anime list, right?
Yes.
So, in preparation, I wanted to make sure to watch at least one more series that might have a chance of making my list. It's too early yet to make a judgment, but I was like, why not start at the top? So I started with an anime that is one of the most acclaimed shows I've never seen, and I believe that you still have not seen. I finally started watching Steins Gate.
I played the game.
I'm 2 episodes in. So far, it's way too early to make a judgment. It's an interesting series. I like the art style. I like the use of tone and what have you, but it's weird. It is weird. That's all there is to it. And then I've been doing some reading. I've read multiple volumes of The Promised Neverland, which is becoming one of my... I like this manga, and I really want to see the anime. I finally got an opportunity after a drought to read a new volume of Yotsuba and Yotsuba is a delightful series. And I am chugging along with Naruto. I have read 3 volumes now. But I have a couple more checked out, so I'll read some this week. And today I started a new novel. I finally started reading a book that I've checked out multiple times. This might actually be more of a novella, but it's the first book written by Haruki Murakami. It's called Hear the Wind Sing, and it comes packaged with his second book, Pinball, so I'll be reading that next. But I finally started reading it, and I'm enjoying it. And in fact, he has a great way with words. And I really like this one quote that I read that I'm like, I like this. And he in the book, he says, people with dark hearts have dark dreams. Those whose hearts are even darker can't dream at all. I'm like, that's some food for thought. But anyway, that is basically my unfinished. So if we want to do any more...
All right, so that's it?
That's my unfinished. I do have a little bit of watched and finished, but yeah.
All right, well, all I've got is completed stuff,
Yeah.
so... I have I have 5 things that I've
Okay.
watched. One of them is Lake Placid because this week, and of course, he'll have watched it by the time you've heard this.
Yes.
Because this week we have done a discussion on Lake Placid for Inside Movies Galore.
Yes.
If you have not seen Inside Movies Galore, what are you waiting for? Check out the channel.
Yes.
Well, listen to the rest of this first, then check out the channel. Or check out the channel and come back. But you're missing something if you haven't, especially if you love movies.
Yes, we will be doing a great Inside Movies Galore discussion on Lake Placid, or as it's also known, The Old Lady and Her Crocodile.
Oh, Betty White's shown in that particular film. It's a great series. I've got all of the films in the Lake Placid series, including Lake Placid versus... Gosh, what was it? It was Lake Placid...
Versus Anaconda.
Anaconda, yes. And I haven't seen that one, but I've seen all the rest, and it is a fun series about a giant crocodile.
Sad thing is, neither Netflix nor Hulu is showing it.
And as a scientific mind of nature, you would be able to concur how likely it is
Oh, yeah.
that a giant crocodile could swim across the ocean
yeah.
from Asia and somehow end up in a lake in Maine.
And if I don't comment on it, I'm sure Dustin will. Yeah.
Because you know how likely that is,
Oh yeah.
especially one that grows up to 30 feet.
Oh yeah.
Ah,
Very much so. So, at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and lump two together. I went to the Bird Theater during this 2-week span since we last met, and our local historical theater. And as I have mentioned before, when I go there, I like to do twofers. In fact, 9 times out of 10, if I go, it's because a twofer amuses me. And this one amused me. I had already seen both films, but when I learned that the Bird was showing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Aquaman, I'm like, I must see this. So I did. And I will tell you, this is proof of how good Aquaman actually is. It's a huge step, or let's say how proof of good Spider-Verse is. You can look at it either way you want to. Aquaman is a huge step down from Spider-Verse. It's almost like you watch the first one and you're like, oh my god, this is a huge step down. And yet, I was not unhappy with it. Had I not seen it before, it might have been more of a noticeable step down. But whatever. But they're both fun films. They're both good. Into the Spider-Verse is flippin' awesome. And both of them are definitely good to see on the big screen. So it was nice being able to pair them together. I would have preferred to do it in the other order and built up rather than down. But, you know.
I did also go to the theater once during the time between these, and me and my wife went to see the movie Us, the new Jordan Peele movie. And he is known for, he got well known originally for a comedy show called Key and Peele, and he did a movie called Get Out, which is an amazing movie, very good horror film, and followed it up with Us. And I'll admit, Us is a good predecessor. It's a good way of what's the word? It's a good way of setting up his hosting of the Twilight Zone, because it felt like a giant Twilight Zone episode. Essentially, Us is about a family that is going on vacation, and they are approached by these people that look exactly like them. That's all I'm going to say about it, because I want you to go see it. It has a very strange twist in the end, and it is somewhat predictable, but many people might not see it coming. It is a good film. It is very strange. So, again, if you're in the straightforward horror group, this is not for you. But for those of you who really like the Twilight Zone, who really like those strange and wannabe deep movies, this is for you.
Okay. Now, speaking of strange, good to very good, but strange to very strange. Actually, if I remember, my least favorite one was the strangest. No, actually, the middle one was the least strange. But whatever. But anyway, I saw 3 Oscar-nominated films during this time period. I don't think I forgot anything. I did see 3 of the Oscar nominees from last year. All of them are more or less adaptations of real events. All of them are more or less fanciful adaptations of real events. None of them can be taken as particularly truthful, if you will. But they're all very interesting films. But one of them was you could say, very interesting but tedious. It was so pretentiously artsy that I was like, my God, could this get any more pretentiously artsy? And that was Julian Schnabel's At Eternity's Gate, which of course featured an Oscar-nominated performance by Willem Dafoe as Vincent van Gogh. And they decided they were going to try to present the film. I guess they were trying to see the world the way he would have seen it.
So strange.
It's strange. It's very strange. It does feature an interesting performance by Oscar Isaac as, I want to say, he's a fellow painter. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on that. But Oscar Isaac
Renoir?
co-stars.
No, not Renoir.
No, not Renoir. And I don't want to say Degas. It was, man, I am drawing a blank on that. But at any rate, Defoe's performance is excellent. I mean, he really did do a great job. He is a brilliant actor, and I do think he has been underserved by Oscar more or less. So, but it was really funny because this is 2 years in a row where he's been nominated for one of the acting awards for a film that got no other nods. And last year, it was a movie that went in where everyone was talking about the Florida Project. Everyone was like, this is a film that's going to make it big at the Oscars. And it ended up getting a single nod for Dafoe. And then at Eternity's Gate, no one even knew about it. No one was talking about it, nothing. And it got a nod for Dafoe. Okay. Paul Gauguin is the one that Isaac plays.
No, it's it's also kind of weird because this is the second year that we've had a Oscar-nominated, an Oscar-nominated Van Gogh. Because Loving Vincent was the previous year.
That was last year, wasn't it? Yeah, and Loving Vincent is a much better film. And the director's the guy who did The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, and he did Before Night Falls, and those were both excellent films. He likes doing biopics about artists.
Was Before Night Falls the one with, what was his
Javier
name?
Bardem.
Javier Bardem.
And it co-starred Johnny Depp.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yes.
And he played a very... Well, then again, it's Johnny Depp. So
he had a dual
one.
role.
Yeah.
He had two roles in there. But Bardem was brilliant in that one. And you know, it's kind of ironic, though. It's like this is two films he's done where the lead actor got an Oscar nod and the film got nothing else. And then The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, the lead actor did not get anything, but the film was up for 3 awards, and including director. And it's like, it's weird. But it was an interesting film. But Loving Vincent is the better of the films. If you gotta watch it, really, I would only really recommend this one for Willem Dafoe fans, to be honest.
Actually, though, I do believe he will probably win the next one that comes along.
It's possible.
Oscar tends to do that, where he was nominated for a film he should have won, then he lost because of a political action, so therefore the next one sets it up. Actually, it broke that because this one actually did not get him a win, but it was really hard to beat what came. Yeah, he had a bad year for that.
Oh yeah.
And the Oscars weren't quite working like they normally do politically this year, so not quite. Partially.
I don't recall who beat him for Shadow of the Vampire, and who beat him for Platoon.
But he's definitely due for one.
Oh yeah.
I have also watched an Oscar-nominated film. Not long ago. And that was Ralph Breaks the Internet, which finally gets me the entire animated feature set. Once I get Mariah in my collection, I'll have all of them in my collection.
I still need to watch Ralph Breaks the Internet.
And I liked it, but it did not quite have the magic of the first one. I do think that it was, out of the ones that were up, it was probably the weakest of the nominees. But it was still a very fun movie, very entertaining, had a good message to it, very much, message of friendship and enduring friendship, even at even when separated or people going their own ways. Almost a Toy Story type message. There's tons and tons of Easter eggs in this film. This is what this film was about, Easter eggs. You could find references to almost anything in this. So it was fun. I look forward to trying to watch it again. They have, instead of a short, they have a compilation of all of the internet cat videos that they made up.
Nice.
So I was entertained by it. But again, it is worth seeing if you enjoyed the first one. I'm sure you'll enjoy this one. Just don't expect quite the blow away that the first one had. I wasn't expecting the first one to do as well as it did, or to be as good as it was. This one was about as I expected it to be.
All right. So my next Oscar nominee was one that was another film that kind of came out of nowhere, but it did so earlier than At Eternity's Gate. This was one at the Golden Globes. Everyone was like, what? Who ever heard of that one? And that was the film that ended up getting 3 Oscar nods, one for adapted screenplay, one for supporting actor, and one for actress. And that was the film Can You Ever Forgive Me? Which features Melissa McCarthy in her Oscar-nominated actress role. Richard E. Grant is a nominated for supporting actor. Basically, McCarthy plays Lee Israel, a washed-up biography writer who has had a bestseller and some other decent selling biographies. I think it said she did an Audrey Hepburn biography, so she, some that were of note. But she is very antisocial, very, very poor people skills. She has a cat, and she loves her cat, but she could care less about people. And her agent is trying to get her to play the game, and she won't play the game. And finally, she confronts her agent. She overhears that Tom Clancy was given $3.5 million for a novel, and she's furious. And she goes into her agent, I wanted $10,000 in advance. Clancy got $3.5 million, and she's like, I couldn't get you $10.
Woo.
I'm like, now that's a pretty crappy agent if you can't get $10 for your client. But still, the idea is she needs to work the system and not just write books. There's more to it than that. But she's so desperate that when she lucks upon some actual letters by Fanny Bryce, she sells them to a local bookstore, or she sells one and isn't satisfied with how much she made. But the bookstore owner says, it's a shame. This is a pretty dull letter. If it was more personal, I could pay you more for it. So she goes home and forges a PS to the other letter and sells it. And then she kind of stumbles into a life of forging celebrity letters and correspondence for profit. And eventually Grant plays an acquaintance of hers that she stumbles into at the bar one night, and they hit it off as drinking buddies. And eventually she brings him in on the scam. And it's interesting. And again, it's based on actual events. Of course, our library doesn't have any of her books. I wonder if they got rid of them after because there was a little bit of a scandal because of this. But McCarthy does a brilliant job. She actually fully deserved her nomination, I think. Grant, I thought, was over the top. He was very flamboyant. His character was very flamboyant. But sometimes with those characters, you run the risk of hamming it up too much. And I honestly think he did. So, But overall, it was an interesting movie. It was darkly funny. It was the part... I won't go into too many specifics, but her cat is sick, and let's just say that there was some genuine emotion in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was a good one. Yeah.
Well, McCarthy, kind of, it's just like Jack Black. I think that they can both act really well when they want to. It's just they take parts that
Or crappy.
are not as flattering. Actually, not as much Jack. Okay, Will Ferrell's a better example.
Jack Black too, because Jack Black was the weakest, most painful link in Tropic Thunder. And I don't know if that was his fault or Ben Stiller's fault. Because he should have been able to be a fun character, but he played an abrasive, obnoxious piece of, and I know that was the character, so it was probably just poor writing. But
his role in King Kong was quite amazing.
Oh, he was brilliant, and he basically played himself in High Fidelity, but he was great in that film.
And if anybody hasn't seen it, you should check out his YouTube channel, Jablensky Games. Not that he needs my help, but at the same time, it is a fun channel. Usually celebrity channels are there, but this one is kind of produced by his son, and it's just a fun project. You get to see the man be him, and it's just kind of fun. Speaking of fun, I've got 2 TV series. I'm going to just do them one at a time because that's all I've got left after this.
Okay. Well, I have 2 left, so.
One of them is the lesser of the 2, and that is Bottle Fairy. I think I talked a little bit about this in our last Vlogcast. And this is a series that is divided into seasons. And it's about these cute little fairies that live in bottles, and they're trying to study the real world in order to be human. It is insanely cute. They're kept by this high school boy, and they have their basic characters that they're kept by him. He's a very rarely seen character, and they speak to this little elementary school girl to try and learn about the world, and they go about trying to interact or recreate scenes with the hopes of one day being able to be human. I feel like the demographic for this show is not me. Very much not me. I think that it's much younger than me. Like, maybe 30 years younger than me. As in, they need to be going to elementary school to be in. This is that. It's on that level. It really is. It feels like it. It's cute. I like the enders. They're kind of nice and relaxing to listen to, but it really is not a series that is all that enjoyable by adults. But if you love cutesy stuff, you'll like Bottle Fairy.
And you know what? Sadly, people 30 years younger than you are among the targeted demographic for Cardcaptor Sakura and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And yet those are fully enjoyable by people of an older age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking of on the opposite end, a show that, or a movie that most assuredly is not aimed at tweens and younger. Most assuredly is not. I had a pleasant surprise over the weekend. I finally watched the much ballyhooed film from Yorgos Lanthimos, The Favorite. And I actually liked it. I actually liked it. It features Oscar-nominated performances, Oscar-winning performance by Olivia Colman, nominated performances by Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone, and I had quite forgotten this, but also features a key supporting role by Nicholas Hoult. So, it is very well done.
Better than Dogtooth?
Oh, that is not even a contest. In fact, I'm tempted to say I've almost forgiven Lanthimos for Dogtooth. Almost. I need to see The Killing of the Sacred Deer and see if it's as good as people say it is. But between this one and The Lobster, I guess the dude does have promise.
Just an unfortunate beginning.
Oh, yeah. The bad beginning. Yes, he's Lemony Snicket, the Greek version. But no, I will admit, if I were to go back now and watch Dogtooth, I'd probably get it better than I did the first time. Because when we saw it, we did not know what we were getting into. And
This billed as a comedy.
oh, man. Now, I will say, the favorite is funny. The Lobster is funny. But they are twisted. And there's a lot of drama burying the humor. And the humor is very, very dry. Very dry. But basically the gist of it is it's loosely based on actual events. Queen Anne is severely depressed because of the loss of her husband and multiple children. Apparently this was changed from the historical events because Abigail, the Emma Stone character, apparently came into the Queen's service while her husband was still alive. But they changed it up a little bit for better drama or whatever. She is so depressed she can barely function, let alone run a nation. So her lady-in-waiting, who's played by Rachel Weisz, basically runs the nation. You know, the chief, what's the word I'm looking for? Antagonist to her work in Parliament is played by Nicholas Hoult. And Emma Stone comes in as a former lady and cousin of Weiss's character, whose father fell on such hard times he literally traded her away in a poker game. And she has done a number of things since then that she's not proud of. And she wants desperately, more than anything, to become a lady again. So she finds her way into her cousin's employment and then finds favor with the Queen. And then it gets twisted as these two scheme and backstab against each other. And the Queen looks on. Eventually you find out not as helplessly as it looked. But I'm not going to go into more detail than that. One of the big controversies about the film was that Stone and Weisz were positioned as supporting actresses. That was some bullshit. All three of them were starred in the film. So it's... I don't like how they do that. That's... yeah. If they'd all been up for Best Actress, Glenn Close would have won. You know, because it would have split the vote. So, and as it is, no one expected Coleman to win, least of all her.
We weren't expecting her to win. We thought she had a chance, but
and I still loved her performance. I mean, her speech. I just loved it. It was so awkward and weird and funny. But it's. I was expecting to tolerate the film, to maybe like it. I thought maybe it would be on order of Can You Ever Forgive Me? I actually liked it better. It was not one of my top 10 films of the year, but I actually rated it better than Vice. Yeah. And I think that just leaves... I'm pretty sure Green Book is the only one I still need to see of the Best Picture nominees.
I have it, but I still have been dreading seeing it.
I'm waiting in the... Yeah. We checked through 2 copies today at the library, so I'm that much closer.
My last one is one that is real. I'm really conflicted over. It's an anime that by itself is awesome, but if you read the manga, it just changes how you see the characters. And I admit, I was of two minds throughout the entirety of that, and I'm talking about the series Bunny Drop. Bunny Drop is about this family who one of their patriarchs has died. And there's this little girl, this like 4-year-old girl. I think she's 4 at the time.
She's 6.
4, 6. Well, 6 by the end at least. By the end of the anime.
I'm pretty sure she's 6 or close to it at the beginning.
Oh wait, no.
I think
she was 5 at the beginning because she was in preschool.
Because I think it covers a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
she was 6 when she graduated there.
Right,
and
in the
moved on.
time jump, she's
Yeah.
16. Yeah, you're right.
So, essentially, one of the family members decides, you know what, I'm not letting her go to an orphanage. I'm going to take her on myself. And this is a very heartfelt series. The opening and ending theme are amazing. I really love the series. It felt really genuine. It pulls at your heartstrings at the right moments. Very well written. And that's where I'm going to leave that. I don't want you to know about it. I don't want you to read the manga. Or if you read the manga, you stop at the time skip. Don't you dare read past that. It will ruin it for you.
It's like the people who read the final chapter of The Dark Tower.
Because every time I look at that series and I try to forget it, but when I remember what happens at the end, it doesn't look sweet. It looks sinister and nasty. And that's why it's a conflict.
Well, and the director of the anime said the same thing. He had no idea where the story was going when he made the anime.
Which is good. We shouldn't have to know where it was going.
Oh, geez.
So instead, I wanted to recommend another series with a similar bent called Aishi Teruzu. I think Teruzu. Is it Teruzu?
Aishi Teruze.
Okay, Baby.
Yeah.
And this is a series. It's 26 episode
I need to
series
see that.
about a guy. He is a playboy high school student who ends up being saddled with this 5-year-old cousin, Yuzuyu, who just shows up at his house when his mother abandons her. It has a lot of the similar heartstrings. It's not as effective as Bunny Drop because it's a high school student, so it's a
Right.
very different tone.
Yes.
But it does hit a lot of the same notes, and it doesn't have that shadow
The Shadow.
over it. Normally, I would recommend reading the manga because it usually is much deeper, offers good story notes, and is sometimes, most of the time, even better than the original source. This is one of those cases that I just can't do it. So, if you haven't read the manga and you're able to keep your curiosity at bay, check out Bunny Drop. It is an excellent series.
I'm surprised you did not specifically mention Puffy Amiyumi as the ones who did the opening theme, because I know you're a big fan of theirs.
Yeah, and it is really a spectacular one. I really do enjoy it, and again, when I can forget it, it's really good. It just doesn't feel the same. I don't know. Did it feel this? You read the manga after you saw the
I
series.
have not seen it since I read the manga. I will have to give that a go one of these days.
You can tell what I mean, though. You know what I'm
I
talking
know
about.
what you mean. And the manga is reasonably well written. The problem is it gets into really icky territory for most people.
Don't spoil it.
Yes, I won't say it. I won't say beyond that. I will say that if you ignore the part after the time skip, the anime is a decently faithful adaptation. Most of the scenes from the manga are in the anime. A couple of them are switched up. I think they changed the time of a few things. They left a couple scenes out. I think they added a little bit here and there. But for the most part, it's a pretty faithful adaptation of those chapters. And yeah, so I'll leave it at that. I love the anime. I absolutely loved it. And, well, I read the manga. And now my last one I'm going to talk about for this week is one that I finished as part of our NIS project. I did finally finish Brave 10. And this is another one where I liked it in a lot of ways. It's also set during the Warring States period, because everything is.
Yeah.
And it has some very interesting, the artistic design is pretty nice for the most part. It has some interesting concepts to it. I kind of like the wide range of attack power that this group of Braves has. There's a lot of good there. But, and you really feel this in the last few episodes, I honestly felt that this was one of the most misogynistic series I've ever watched. Oh my God, it was misogynistic. And I did not entirely care for that. And especially, like, you're talking about outside things bleeding into
There's a reason why that one was in the discount bin before it became out of print.
Yes. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
It's like pretty much every significant female character is either a villain, treacherous, or capable of destroying the earth.
Girls are bad.
Clearly. I mean, wow. I mean, it was an interesting enough watch, and I guess I'm glad I saw it, and I like having that pretty set in my collection.
It was worth paying the cheap price.
I think I got it for 15. So yeah.
One of the cheapest NIS sets I got next to Fuse.
So that's it for my viewing, actually.
Well, then, I guess we can go into the news. I don't have a lot to talk about.
Nope.
I just have a couple of things.
Nope.
And I keep having this darn thing from Anime News Network showing up that I pulled up. Okay, the first one I thought was interesting. There's two just oddball stories. One of them is came up about The Matrix. The directors they'd come forward, and apparently Sandra Bullock was originally going to be Neo, but she turned it down.
Really?
They actually offered to rewrite the part for a female to have her play Neo.
Wow.
That would have, really changed might have even changed the entire direction of Keanu Reeves' career. But also, that would have been interesting.
And it would have had an interesting impact on her career.
It would have.
Not to mention, when Neo cries, it would not have been painful.
I think that would have been actually, this is one of those things where replacing a male character with a female character would not have necessarily been a bad thing. No. And it could have very well went over well because, this is all in The Matrix.
Well, if this was the original, then yeah, it could have easily gone over well because no one would have known any better. But,
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't have been as big a hit as it was, sadly.
I don't know. I think that Sandra Bullock was a big enough name even back then to draw a crowd.
Well, yeah, but as an action star, I'm not sure she would have gotten as many people into seats as Keanu Reeves would have. But
yeah, that's true. I think it would have been. I think it would have been a sleeper hit.
Yeah,
and then maybe the two other films might have followed, but it would have been further along, or maybe not at all, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
But then again, we probably would have seen a remake starring Keanu Reeves 5 years ago.
Oh God.
All right. So, my first item of business is just I'm going to mention one of the people who passed this week, Agnes Varda, famed French director who co-directed last year's Faces Places, passed away at 90. And she co-directed last year's Faces Places. She was directing films right up until 90. That's pretty impressive.
Well, not bad.
That's pretty freaking impressive.
Actually, that's how I expect Woody Allen to do it. Is so long as people let him, I have a feeling he'll just keep doing it until he falls over.
I can't say I'm hugely familiar with Varda's work outside of that film, but one of these days I'll have to. The Beaches of Agnes was another one that she was famous for, and so that was worth noting, I thought.
Another fun story. This is my other one. I didn't look out for a lot of stories this
time. I didn't either. I just saw a couple.
But it just is a funny one that came up.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nicolas Cage got married.
Really?
Then he got annulled 4 days later.
Oh, God.
So I just thought it was funny that was how it went. I just think to myself...
That seems in character, sadly.
Yeah, it's just like one of those... It's like Leaving Las Vegas. Maybe he was reenacting that movie.
I don't know. Do you have any idea who he got married to?
It was his longtime girlfriend. I can't think of her name right off the top of my head, but it's just... I think to myself, that's interesting.
The sad thing is, I immediately thought of a joke like that. That might have been what he said, and that's why he had to get annulled. But anyway... So I just had two more things. As far as upcoming movie releases, I did see some interesting, casting, directing, movie announcement kind of sort of news. Taika Waititi is going to be acting in a film with Ryan Reynolds. That's kind of cool. But the biggest news items, you may have seen this. We may have mentioned it on the channel. I can't remember. But they're doing a remake of The Craft.
Yeah.
But the writer and director of the film is going to be Zoe Lister-Jones. And I loved Band-Aid. And I'm thinking if she brings that level of skill to The Craft, I'm looking forward to it. That could be pretty good. And, of course, right now, anything that gives a talented female director more exposure, I'm all for it. So, that's pretty cool. And then big notable, speaking of people who have worked in the past with Nicolas Cage, very notable first ever event after 94, after roughly 35 years of being joined at the hip behind the camera, the Coen brothers are releasing a film that will not be by the Coen brothers.
Oh, wow.
Joel Coen alone is writing and directing an adaptation of Macbeth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that could be interesting. What's more interesting is Macbeth will be played by Denzel Washington, and his lady love will be played by Frances McDormand.
Huh.
And I'm like, okay, I'll see this. Now, I'm sure Ethan's probably on board as an exec producer or something, but it's going to be weird to see a Joel Coen only film. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But, Denzel and Frances McDormand, this, it's got some top flight talent. So that's going to be cool.
What's also interesting is there have been some race stuff in the news lately, and not a lot. Jordan Peele had basically said that he doesn't really see himself in any future having a film with a white lead, which...
I think I did hear that. Yeah.
There are some people who are getting up in arms about that, but, you got to keep in mind, you got to understand where the point is coming from. Yeah. If you really want a film with a white male lead... you don't have to go very far.
No.
To find a really legit good film with a lead of color, or a lead that's an LGBTQ, or a lead female, it's a lot harder.
Right.
And
or a female LGBTQ Asian. That would take a while to find one of those.
Also, of course, Woody Allen also had released a statement that he would cast a black lead in one of his films if if it called for it. Now, many people are saying, well, he's a racist for saying that. It's like, no, you just don't understand what he's saying. He's basically saying, if I create one and it just happens to hit me that's what's needed, that's what's needed. Yeah. And it's, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Artists are eccentric, and he is eccentric to the max.
Oh, he is.
Not necessarily... Yeah, to me, I don't think it's about race. It's just about whatever his mind is at the time.
I think in some ways, for one... I think this may be the first time that Joel Coen's had a black lead. But
which
it's
is
like
awesome in and of itself.
Yeah, but it's like I'll say depending on how they do it, Macbeth really, I don't know. But then Denzel has been in a Shakespeare adaptation before. But the idea is when you have someone like Woody Allen or Jordan Peele, where anything they do is likely to be largely original and largely a product of their own mind. On the one hand, you can make the argument, well, they could make a role. But on the other hand, it's a product of their own mind. Yeah. They might not feel comfortable stepping in that direction. It's like, I'll admit, I'm trying to write novels where I'm trying to have a very diverse cast. I'm trying very hard to have a very diverse cast. But it's kind of tough getting in a mindset that you don't really know. So I understand it from a creator standpoint. You don't want to put yourself out there to put yourself to ridicule.
Yeah.
You could almost be accused of being racist because of the way you created the character. But on the other hand, so it's kind of it's almost a double-edged sword there.
Yeah.
But now, of course, if you're taking pre-existing material, yes, I do not believe that people should be changing roles willy-nilly just to create better diversity. But if a role is open, if a role could literally be anybody, then
go for it, yeah.
go for it. Be as diverse as you can be.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between having a legit experience that's inclusive and tokenism.
Yeah.
And you really want to walk that line as finely as possible without falling over on the wrong side.
Right. Like if we were to do an 18th century British courtroom drama, it would not make sense to have a black lead. It just, in most cases. If you were, this is kind of a weird example, but I've noticed that the upcoming Dora film has tons of Hispanic actors of note. Really big names.
Which it should.
Actually, that's part of the news for this week. They announced Danny Trejo,
Boots.
Michael Pitt, yes, and Benicio del Toro, and Michael Pena plays her father. I mean, that's a pretty awesome cast of Hispanic actors there, But in a film like that, you're not going to expect to put, let's say, Keanu Reeves. Let's hope not. Please, let's hope not. So choose what's appropriate for the role, but definitely, I love Emma Stone to death, but she never should have been cast for the role she had in Aloha. I mean, that was no.
Yeah.
That's
it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to. Race does play an interesting part in diversity, and I do believe we need to have more.
Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That could be worse. She could be playing Dora.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Dora the Grown Up. I'm waiting for that movie.
But again, we'll see how things go as time goes on. I am curious about it because the Shakespeare adaptation could be. Coens are well known for taking an adaptation and pulling it into a different time period.
Now, the article I said literally said an original screenplay by Joel Coen. So I'm wondering if it'll be an adaptation of Macbeth the way Woody Allen with Blue Jasmine adapted A Streetcar Named Desire, where it was so loose that he didn't even have to call it.
It wouldn't be a period piece necessarily.
I mean, it could be set in modern day, maybe not even Scotland. It could be like the modern day Dubai, for all we know. I don't know.
It's hard to say with the Coens. So, be interesting.
Yeah.
One more piece of news before we wrap. I just thought it was interesting. I'm getting a birthday present this year.
Ooh.
Viz is giving me a birthday present.
Ooh.
Because
they finally responded to one of your letters?
They're finally wrapping up Naruto Shippuden in June.
Ooh.
And I'm thinking to myself, what better birthday gift? I have been collecting Naruto forever and ever and ever. I have been introduced to Naruto when I was in grad school. Gosh, it's been around a while. And I was gonna say now it's coming to an end, but now they've started the release of Boruto, so I guess not. But at least...
And in 5 years, Boruto will wrap up, and then his kid
will take over. But
actually, no, it'll probably follow the girl that's Sasuke and Sakura's. Actually, she'll probably have a kid with Boruto, and
there you go. That'll be the thing. It's going to be one of those things. I'm kind of glad to see it finally coming to an end. The manga ended a long time ago. So did the series. It's just finally coming to the U.S. And that excites me because I will finally have that series complete.
Good deal.
I'll finally have the entire anime representation of the Naruto manga because Boruto is its own manga.
And I may have actually finished reading the Naruto manga and started watch. Well, I don't know. I will start.
That's a bit much. That's an accomplishment if you've read all of Naruto.
Yeah.
At that point, you're gonna be reading a lot.
I will be. Of course, the manga Naruto volume takes me 40 minutes.
But who knows? Maybe all of the Naruto stuff will end once One Piece finally wraps up.
They might be in a competition to
See who goes longer. Well, Bleach didn't outlive him. Though I have heard rumors that there may be a Bleach series coming will basically it'll wrap up where the manga wrapped up. Similar to how Inuyasha had the final act, and how the new Fairy Tail series is coming out, so that covers those last manga. I think that's a possibility. So,
of course, Fairy Tail paced itself a lot better than most of these other series did, taking breaks rather than They did a lot of filler, but rather than cranking out season after season of filler,
yeah, Inuyasha was known for its filler.
It's Naruto.
Oh, God.
Wasn't half of the first series a one block of filler?
It's like 6 volumes of the first one. There are like 16 volumes in the whole series.
Yes.
Any case, I hope you all have enjoyed it. We have kept it exactly to an hour almost.
Yes.
Sparing a couple of minutes, actually.
Well, once you put the opener and ender, you know.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
So I hope you've enjoyed this vlogcast.
Right.
Of course, subscribe, like our videos.
Oh, one last little bit of news. Because you haven't already, because I know you haven't, check out my review of The Princess Bride. It's pretty cool.
You've heard him. So,
and tune in for our Lake Placid discussion once again. Yeah, it's going to be good.
We will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Goodbye.